My parents told me my promotion dinner was off because the budget fell apart. I believed them. 5 days later, my brother posted family photos from a beach resort. I stayed quiet. Then mom called needing a favor, and I answered with, "Before we begin, I just want to take a second. This channel has been growing because of you guys, and if you want to keep it going, just hit that subscribe button. It's free, it takes a second, and it helps more than you know. Thank you for subscribing. Let's go." The photo loaded slow. I was scrolling through Instagram on a Tuesday night, half watching a show I wasn't paying attention to, when I saw Kyle's new post. 2 hours old. I tapped it. The image loaded top down the way photos do on a bad connection. First the sky, blue, cloudless. Then palm trees. Then a pool, bright turquoise. A sun reflecting off the water. Then 4 people standing in matching white resort robes, cocktails raised, smiling like they'd been smiling all week. My mother, Diane, my father, Frank, my brother, Kyle, Kyle's wife, Alicia. The caption, "Nothing beats family time." I stared at the photo, then I set the phone down, picked it up again, looked at the photo one more time to make sure I was seeing what I was seeing. 4 people, my parents, my brother's wife, at a resort, with drinks, in matching robes that resorts give you when you book the premium package. My mother, who told me 5 days ago that the family couldn't afford a dinner at an Italian restaurant, was standing poolside in a white robe holding something with an umbrella in it. 5 days ago, my mother called me to say my promotion dinner was canceled. "The budget fell apart, honey. We just can't swing it right now." I believed her. I said, "Okay." I moved on. I didn't question it because I don't question my mother. She says something, I adjust. Now I was looking at 4 people at a beach resort in matching robes, cocktails in their hands, smiles that had been smiling for days. The budget held up fine. It just fell apart for me. I screenshotted the photo. Not to share, not to start a fight, to keep, because I knew my mother well enough to know that if I ever brought this up, she'd find a way to reshape it. She'd say the trip was planned months ago. She'd say it was non-refundable. She'd say I was being dramatic. The screenshot was insurance against the version she'd eventually sell. 2 weeks after the photo, my phone rang. "Mom." I let it ring 3 times, picked up. "Hi, sweetheart. How are you?" "Fine, Mom. What's up?" "Listen, I need to talk to you about something. The roof is giving us problems. There's a leak in the back bedroom and the contractor says it needs a full replacement on that section. Your father and I can't cover the deposit on our own, and we need someone to co-sign on the repair loan." She paused, then added the line I'd heard 100 times before. "You're the only one I can really count on for something like this, Nate." I didn't answer right away. The promotion came through on a Monday. Regional operations manager. 6 years of work compressed into one meeting where my boss shook my hand and said, "You earned this." I called my parents that evening. Diane answered, "Mom, I got promoted. Regional operations manager." "Oh, that's wonderful, honey. Good for you." She said it in the same voice she uses when I tell her I changed my oil. Pleasant, flat, already thinking about something else. But then she surprised me. "We should do a dinner. A real one. The whole family." I almost dropped the phone. In 31 years, those words had never been arranged in that order by my mother. A real dinner. For me, Diane had never organized anything for me. Kyle's birthday got a surprise party at a bar 2 years ago. Diane planned it for a month. My birthday's got a card in the mail, sometimes late, usually with a check for $50. So when she said a real dinner, I felt something I don't usually feel about family events. I felt excited. I picked a restaurant, Vittorio's, Italian place with white tablecloths and candles on the tables. Not fancy, just nice. The kind of place where the waiter brings bread first and the menu has descriptions under each dish. I booked a reservation for 6. Me, Sarah, Mom, Dad, Kyle, Alicia. I called the restaurant and asked if they could put a small card on the table. They said yes. I told Sarah. She bought a new top for the occasion. I pressed my best shirt. Navy blue, dry cleaned, hung it on my bedroom door the way you hang something you're looking forward to wearing. I stood in front of it for a second after I put it there. It looked good. The whole night looked good in my head. 6 people at a table, bread and wine and someone asking me about the new role. My parents across from me, asking questions, paying attention, seeing what 6 years of work produced. For one night, I wasn't the fixer. I wasn't the reliable one. I was the reason the family gathered. That had never happened before. 3 days before the dinner, Diane called. Honey, I hate to do this, but we're going to have to postpone your dinner. The budget just fell apart. Your dad's car needed work, and with everything else going on, we're stretched too thin right now. We'll reschedule, I promise. That's okay, Mom. We can do it another time. I knew you'd understand. You always do. She hung up. I stood in my kitchen holding the phone. The shirt was on the bedroom door. The reservation was confirmed for Friday, and now it was canceled because the budget fell apart. I understood. I always understood. The word okay came out of my mouth the way air comes out of lungs. I called Vittorio's and canceled the reservation. Told Sarah the dinner was off. She looked at me for a second too long but didn't push. On the phone, Diane was still talking about the roof. The contractor gave us a quote for $4,200. We can cover about half, but we need help with the deposit and someone with decent credit to co-sign. Kyle's not in a position to help right now. Kyle's never in a position to help. Kyle's been not in a position to help for his entire adult life. And nobody in this family has ever questioned that sentence. Are you still there, honey? Yeah, I'm here. After the cancellation call, I went quiet. Not dramatically. I just had nothing to say. The shirt stayed on the door. Every morning I opened my closet and there it was. Navy blue, pressed, ready for a night that wasn't coming. I didn't move it because moving it would mean admitting the dinner was gone. Leaving it felt like keeping a reservation open. A small, stupid form of hope hanging from a wire hanger. And I went to work. I came home. I made dinner. I watched TV without watching it. Sarah noticed but didn't push. She asked me once on Wednesday if I was okay. Yeah, just tired. She didn't believe me, but she let it sit. On Monday, Jess at work stopped me in the hallway. Hey, congrats on the promotion. How was the dinner? Did your family go all out? It got postponed. Oh no, budget stuff? Yeah, something like that. That sucks. Well, you deserve it. Let me take you to lunch at least. She did. We went to the sandwich place across the street. She asked about the new role, what it meant, how the team would change, whether I was nervous about managing 3 warehouses instead of 1. She asked real questions, the kind that shows someone actually listened when you talked about your job. We were there for 45 minutes. She picked up the check without asking. Walking back to the office, she said something offhand that stuck with me. It's a big deal, Nate. Don't let anyone make you think it's not. She meant it as encouragement. She didn't know it was also a warning, because the only people making me think it wasn't a big deal were the people who were supposed to think it was the biggest deal of all. That lunch was the only time anyone celebrated my promotion that week. On Tuesday night, 5 days after the cancellation, the photo loaded on my phone. Sky, palm trees, pool, robes, cocktails, 4 people. Nothing beats family time. I looked at the photo, looked at the shirt on my door. The budget didn't fall apart. Diane redirected it. The money that was too tight for a dinner at Vittorio's was loose enough for a resort trip with matching robes. She canceled my dinner because my dinner wasn't worth protecting once Kyle's trip was on the table. I sat on the couch with the phone in my hand and the show still playing on the TV. The laugh track was going. I wasn't watching. I was doing math. The resort was at least $4,000 or $5,000. Flights for 4, hotel for 4, meals, drinks, excursions. My dinner at Vittorio's would have been about $350. Diane canceled a $350 dinner and spent thousands on a vacation. The budget didn't collapse. It was reallocated, and nobody thought to tell the one person whose celebration got cut. I didn't call Diane that night. I didn't text Kyle. I just sat there and let the math settle into the place where okay used to live. For the first time, okay didn't fit there anymore. On the phone, Diane shifted into the voice I know too well. Want it warmer now, softer. I wouldn't ask if it wasn't important, Nate. You know that. You're the only one I trust with something like this. You've always been the responsible one. The responsible one. I'd been hearing that my whole life. Not as praise, as a job title. After the photo, I sat at my kitchen table and did what I do at work. I ran the numbers. I opened my bank app, scrolled back through 5 years of transactions. Every transfer, every payment, every cosign. Kyle's apartment deposit. I co-signed the lease when he couldn't qualify a loan. $8,000 in credit exposure that's still on my record. Diane's phone bill. 3 months 2 years ago when she forgot to set up autopay. $540. Kyle's moving truck when he and Alicia moved into their new place. I rented it, drove it, and returned it. $380. Frank's car repair loan. Just until I get back on my feet, son. That was 18 months ago. Never repaid. $1,800. Holiday flights, 4 Christmases. The family always gathers near Kyle, never near me. I buy the flights because I'm the one who has to travel. $3,200 across 4 years. The travel account. 2 years ago, Diane wanted to book a trip and didn't know how. I drove to her house on a Saturday, set up the account, walked her through the booking process, and put my credit card on file as backup. Just in case, Mom, you probably won't need it. I spent 2 hours teaching her to navigate a website so she could plan vacations. The resort trip that replaced my dinner was booked through that account. The tool I built, the login I created, the card I attached, I was the infrastructure of my own exclusion. I added it up. North of $14,000, 5 years. We one direction. Then I opened a second column in my head. What the family has spent celebrating me. My promotion, my birthday, my graduation, anything with my name on it. The column was empty, not low, empty. $14,000 out. 0 back. Like I said, Kyle can't help right now. He's got his own expenses. You know how it is with the new house and everything? Kyle's new house, the one he moved into using my truck. Kyle's expenses, the ones that never stopped this family from funding his life while canceling mine. Sarah was the one who made me see it. 3 days after the photo, we were on the couch. She'd been watching me go quiet for almost a week. She didn't push. She didn't lecture. She didn't say, "You need to talk to your family," or "You should call your mom." Sarah doesn't operate like that. She watches, she waits. Then she asks one question that does more damage than a speech. "Nate, when was the last time your family celebrated something you did?" I opened my mouth to answer. Stopped. Thought. Really thought. Not for a second. For a full minute. My college graduation. Diane made lasagna at home. No guests. No restaurant. Kyle's graduation. Weekend event. Hotel booked. Steakhouse dinner. Photos framed in the hallway. Diane organized it for 2 months. My 30th birthday. Card in the mail. $50 inside, folded once. Kyle's 30th. Surprise party at a bar. 20 people. Diane planned it for a month. Even had a custom cake made. My promotion. Canceled for a resort trip. The silence after Sarah's question lasted long enough for both of us to understand. The answer was never. Not once in 31 years had my family organized a single event where I was the reason for gathering. Sarah didn't say anything after the silence. She put her head on my shoulder. That was enough. An hour later, Sarah was scrolling through her phone when she stopped. Squinted. Tapped something. Then turned the screen toward me without a word. It was a screenshot. Alicia had accidentally shared it to a neighborhood group chat Sarah was in. The image was from a different group. Family beach trip. 4 members. Diane, Frank, Kyle, Alicia. 47 messages. Room assignments. Excursion bookings. Restaurant reservations. 3 weeks of planning for a trip I was never told about. I took the phone, scrolled through the image, found what I was looking for near the top. A message from Diane, sent the same day she called to cancel my dinner. Don't mention the trip to Nate. I told him the dinner budget fell apart. He won't ask questions. Kyle's reply, thumbs up. No pushback. No, wait, should we invite him? Just a thumbs up. The gesture you give a pizza order confirmation. He won't ask questions. That's what my mother wrote about me. She predicted my compliance the way you predict weather in July, confidently, based on years of data that never changed. I handed the phone back to Sarah. My hands were steady, but my jaw was tight. She locked the phone and set it face down on the couch. Neither of us said anything for a while. The TV was still on, some show with a laugh track. The laughter sounded like it was coming from a different planet. Later that night, I checked my credit card statement. There was a charge I didn't recognize. $247 from a resort booking website, and I traced it. Diane's travel account, the one I set up. My card was still on file as backup. Her primary card must have hit its limit, and the system automatically charged mine. I paid for part of the trip I wasn't invited to, the trip that replaced my dinner, $247. The dinner at Vittorio's would have been about $350 for 6 people. My family couldn't afford a dinner for me, but my credit card could absorb a charge for their vacation without anyone mentioning it. I sat on the couch next to Sarah, looking at the charge on my screen. She leaned over and saw the number, saw the resort name. She didn't say anything. She put her hand on my knee and squeezed. That squeeze said everything her mouth didn't. Something shifted, not a crack, a click, like a lock turning. The word okay had lost its meaning. I wasn't angry, I was exhausted. In the kind where the machine doesn't break, it just powers down. Diane had finished her pitch. The roof, the deposit, the cosign. She'd deployed every tool, the warmth, the compliment, the you're the only one, the reminder that Kyle can't help. She was waiting for, okay. She was waiting for the word I've given her my entire life. The word she trained me to say by wrapping every extraction in a compliment that made saying no feel like ingratitude. The silence stretched. Honey, are you still there? Every major favor Diane ever asked me was preceded by the same opening, the same warm voice, the same practiced rhythm. I could hear it now on the phone, in the present, layered over a decade of identical moments. You're the only one I can count on, Nate. Then, the cosign on Kyle's apartment. I don't know who else to ask. Then 3 months of phone bills. You're so good at organizing these things. Then, Kyle's moving truck. You know your father would never ask, but then, the car repair loan. Every time, for years. The compliment came first. Always warm, always personal. Then the ask. I turned the key every single time because I thought the warmth was real. It wasn't. It was lubrication. Something she applied to reduce friction before she took what she needed. I wasn't the responsible one, I was the accessible one. And the compliment wasn't affection, it was a script. Yeah, Mom, I'm here. So can you help? It really is urgent. The rain is supposed to start again Thursday. I took a breath. Not a deep one, a normal one. The kind you take before you say something that's been sitting in your chest for weeks, it pressing against your ribs, waiting for the door to open. Every time you've needed something from me, you've opened with the same line. You're the only one I can count on. I trust you more than anyone. Then you ask. Every time. For years. I paused. Let the words settle. That wasn't trust, Mom. That was a script, and I'm done following it. Silence, the kind that has texture. I could hear the house through the phone, the fridge humming, a clock somewhere, the drip she was calling about. What are you talking about? The budget didn't fall apart. You canceled my dinner and went to a resort with Kyle. I saw the photos. I saw the group chat too. That landed differently. I could hear it in her breathing. Faster now. Don't mention the trip to Nate. He won't ask questions. Your words, Mom, typed into a group chat I wasn't in, and Kyle gave it a thumbs up. Nobody said, wait, should we invite him? Nobody said, that's not right. You told them to lie to me, and they agreed without a second thought. Nate, that was different. The trip was already booked. It was non-refundable. My dinner would have cost $350. You charged $247 to my credit card for the resort, through the travel account I set up for you, with the backup card I put on file. You canceled a $350 dinner and used my own money to help pay for a trip I wasn't invited to. You spent more of my money on Kyle's vacation than my entire celebration would have cost. Nothing from the other end, just breathing. The kind of breathing that happens when someone is searching for a rebuttal and the shelf is bare. The answer is no, Mom. For the roof, for the cosign, for all of it. Find someone else. Nate, you can't just ask Kyle, he's family too. The line went quiet. I hung up, set the phone on the counter. Sarah was in the doorway. She'd heard enough. You okay? Yeah. And I was. For the first time in weeks, I actually was. Kyle called an hour later. I picked up because I wanted to hear what version of the story Diane told him. Dude, what's going on? Mom just called me crying. She says you won't help with the roof. That's right. She said you were upset about some dinner? That was like 2 weeks ago, man. Just let it go. Kyle, who co-signed your apartment? Pause. What? Your apartment lease. Who co-signed it? I mean, you did, but that was years ago. Who rented the moving truck? Nate. Who paid for the Christmas flights every year? Who set up Mom's travel account? Who covered Dad's car repair? The pause stretched. Oh, Kyle was doing math he'd never done before, adding up things he'd never counted, because counting them would mean admitting they came from somewhere other than himself. Each question I asked was a receipt he didn't know existed, and each receipt had my name on it. I didn't think about it like that. I know you didn't. That's the problem. He didn't say anything after that. I could hear him breathing, the sound of a man standing in a house he couldn't have afforded without his brother's signature, holding a phone paid for by a plan his brother probably set up, realizing for the first time that self-made was a story he told himself, and the receipts told a different one. I hung up. Diane called back the next morning. Different tone now. The warmth was gone. What replaced it was something harder, sharper. The voice of a woman who tried the soft approach, failed, and is reaching for the only other tool she has, guilt. After everything I've done for you, Nate, everything this family has given you, you're going to punish me because of a dinner? I let the sentence hang. Let her hear it in the air. Because everything this family has given you is a sentence that only works if you don't count. And I'd spent the last 2 weeks counting. What have you done for me, Mom? Name one time this family gathered to celebrate something I did. Silence. I'm serious. Kyle's graduation was a weekend event. Mine was lasagna at home. Kyle's birthday was a surprise party you spent a month planning. Mine was a card with $50. My promotion was canceled for a resort trip I wasn't invited to and partially charged to my credit card. Name one time, Mom. One gathering, one dinner, one event where I was the reason the family showed up. She didn't answer, not because she was choosing silence as a strategy, because the answer didn't exist. 31 years of family history and not a single entry where Nate Mitchell was the guest of honor. The silence confirmed it more clearly than any confession. That's what I thought. The call ended. She didn't call back. The week after the phone call, I went to work every day and did my job. The new role had me managing schedules for 3 regional warehouses, inventory reports, delivery timelines, vendor coordination, numbers that made sense, systems that worked because people maintained them and got acknowledged for it. On Wednesday, my boss called me into his office. I thought something was wrong. He handed me a framed certificate. Boy Employee of the Quarter. My name on it. The department had voted. We wanted to do something at the team meeting, but I figured you'd prefer this, he said. He was right. I would prefer this. A quiet acknowledgement from people who noticed. No announcement, no party. Just a frame and a handshake from a man who paid attention to what I did without being asked to. I put the certificate on my desk. Jess walked by and tapped the frame with her knuckle. Told you, you deserve it. That was it. No speech, no champagne, no group photo, just a certificate and a knuckle tap. And it meant more than any dinner my family would have thrown because the people who gave it to me actually watched me work. Frank called that evening, separate from Diane. His voice was different, quieter. The voice of a man who has been listening to his wife handle things and is now trying to handle something himself for the first time in years. Listen, son, I know your mother can be I know she doesn't always think about how things land on you. Did you know about the resort trip when she canceled my dinner? Silence. Dad? I told her we should do both, the trip and the dinner. She said we couldn't afford it. Could you? Another pause, longer. Probably, yeah. We probably could have. That word, probably. He knew. He sat in that house and watched Diane cancel my dinner and book a resort trip, and he knew it wasn't about money. He knew when he packed his bag and went to the airport anyway. Then why didn't you say something? You know how your mother is? I'd been hearing that sentence my entire life. You know how your mother is. The family's universal excuse. The sentence that let everyone off the hook because it put all the blame on Diane while allowing everyone else to follow her without consequence. Yeah, Dad, I do. And now I know how you are too. He didn't say anything after that. I hung up. It had been 3 weeks since Diane said, "We'll reschedule." She hadn't mentioned it once. Not in the cancellation call, not in the favor call, not in the guilt flip call. The dinner was supposed to be postponed, not canceled. But postponed was just a softer word for gone. Diane used it the way she used compliments, to make the extraction feel temporary instead of permanent. "We'll reschedule" bought her my silence for 2 weeks. 2 weeks of me not asking, not pushing, not bringing it up. 2 weeks of me being exactly what she told the group chat I'd be. The person who doesn't ask questions. The reschedule was never coming. I knew that now. It was never on anyone's calendar. It was a word Diane dropped into the conversation to make me say okay one more time, and it worked. Until the photo loaded and the word expired. Over the next week, Kyle started asking questions he'd never asked before. I heard about it from Sarah, who heard it from Alicia. Kyle went through his records, sat at his kitchen table after Alicia and the kids went to bed. The apartment cosign, still on Nate's credit, 4 years running. The moving truck, rented, driven, and returned by Nate. The Christmas flights, 4 years of tickets from Nate's account, because the family always gathered near Kyle. The travel account, built by Nate, to backup cards still attached. He wrote the list on the back of an envelope, turned it over, and kept writing on the other side. Everything Nate did, everything Nate paid for, everything Nate signed, built, carried, and fixed. The envelope ran out of space before the list ran out of items. He called Alicia into the kitchen. "Did you know Nate paid for all the flights?" She didn't. "Did you know he co-signed our apartment?" She had no idea. "Did you know Mom canceled his dinner to pay for the resort?" Alicia sat down slowly. What? Kyle's self-built story, the one where he earned everything himself and Nate helped out a little, was collapsing one receipt at a time. Every receipt in Nate's name. Alicia sat at the table for a long time after Kyle finished talking. Then she asked one question. "Did your mom really write that in the group chat? That Nate wouldn't ask questions?" "Yeah." "And you gave it a thumbs up?" Kyle didn't answer. Alicia got up from the table and went to bed without saying goodnight. Kyle sat there alone. The envelope with the list was still in front of him. He didn't call me to apologize. He didn't know how. He'd spent his whole adult life receiving things he thought he'd earned, and the math just told him otherwise. Diane couldn't get the roof fixed without a co-signer. Kyle's credit wasn't strong enough. Frank's was worse. The contractor needed a deposit Diane couldn't cover alone. She called 2 relatives. Both said they'd think about it, which meant no. It rained the following Thursday. The leak in the back bedroom got worse. Frank put a bucket under it, then a towel around the bucket. In the ceiling stains spread from the size of a plate to the size of a table. The drip was constant, hitting plastic every few seconds. Diane called a second contractor. The quote was higher. She called a third. Same range. Every contractor needed a deposit and a cosign that nobody in the family could provide. 2 weeks without Nate, and the house was already showing symptoms. The yard had started to look uneven because the mower blade needed adjusting, something Nate did every spring. The porch light was flickering because the bulb was a specific wattage that Frank could never remember, and Nate always kept in his trunk. Small things. The kind of things that work invisibly until the person who handles them stops handling them. The house that Nate used to drive to on weekends was leaking. The ceiling stain grew darker each day. The bucket filled faster after each rain. Frank emptied it 3 times the first night, carrying it to the bathroom sink and back, his knees aching on the stairs. By the second week, he'd stopped emptying it at night and just let it overflow into the towel. The towel stayed damp permanently. The bedroom smelled like wet drywall. And the fixer, who would have handled it in a single weekend phone call, was sitting in his apartment, not answering, because the family that needed his credit told him his promotion wasn't worth a dinner. 3 weeks after the phone call, Friday night, Sarah had booked Vittorio's, same restaurant, same table size. She called the week before and asked them to set up a small card in the center. They did. I stood in front of my bedroom mirror. The shirt was still on the door. Navy blue, 3 weeks waiting. And I took it off the hanger, put it on, buttoned it slowly. It fit the same way it fit the night I pressed it. Nothing had changed about the shirt. Everything had changed about who I was wearing it for. Sarah was in the living room. "The shirt looks good. Been saving it," she smiled. We walked into Vittorio's at 7:30. The restaurant smelled like garlic and warm bread. The lighting was low. Other couples and families at other tables, living other Friday nights. Our table was near the window, set for 8. Candles lit, a small printed card in the center. "Congratulations, Nate." Sarah had called ahead and asked them to make it. The same restaurant, the same table size, different names in the chairs. Jess was already there. She'd brought a bottle of wine and a card signed by the office. Sarah's friend Mel brought flowers, yellow ones. Because Sarah told her I liked yellow without me ever knowing Sarah knew that. 2 other friends were on their way. A guy from my gym who I'd been training with for a year. Sarah's neighbor who always brought his guitar to barbecues. By 8 o'clock, every seat was full. 8 people. Not one of them had to be convinced to come. Not one of them needed a compliment to get them through the door. Sarah raised her glass. The table went quiet. Not the heavy quiet of a family dinner where nobody knows what to say. The easy quiet of people who are paying attention because they want to. To Nate, to 6 years of work that earned this, and to the people who actually show up. Everyone drank. Jess asked about the new role. Mel asked about my first week as regional manager. Someone told a story about a terrible boss they once had, and the table laughed. It real laughter, the kind that comes from people who are comfortable with each other, not performing for each other. The food came. The wine poured. The bread basket went around twice. The evening felt easy in a way that family dinners never did. I looked around the table. 8 people. Every one of them chose to be here. Nobody was obligated. Nobody was performing. Nobody was going to cancel this for a resort trip. The card in the center said, "Congratulations, Nate." My name, in a restaurant, on a Friday night. None of the people at this table were family. All of them showed up anyway. And for the first time in 31 years, that was more than enough.